Family Matters with Kevin Peterson. I'm Jay Staples. How are you, Kevin?
Jay, I am doing really, really well. Thank you very much. How are you, sir?
I'm living the dream the best I can. So I was feeling blah all week. So I'm back, I think, to 95%. I mean, if there was an injury report, I would be a full-time go at practice today. I'll just say that. But
all right,
up until this point, I would have been limited in practice. So
okay.
Anyway, so we do this show every week, and we're excited because we got a sponsor now, as we can tell by our hats and stuff. And Kevin may have worked his inside. We didn't go too far from the roost, let's just say that. But Jaywalker Lodge, beloved Jaywalker, is sponsoring this until they come to their senses and they drop us like they should. But we do this every week to the best of our ability. We answer questions, and we just want to talk about whatever people is on their mind. So no, I would like to say no questions off bounds, off limits, but maybe someone will test that, but we'll see. No one has up to this point.
We're still waiting.
So, perfect. Well, Kevin, obviously, being the family director of Jaywalkers has got to be like a highlight of your career, huh?
You know what? To be totally blunt, it actually is, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel fully supported. I mean, the Jaywalker sees the family system and the family program as an integral part of the individual's sobriety, because they understand that if the family can get on board, the chances the guy staying on board go up exponentially. Yeah, I mean, that, and so, for so long, I was battling that on my own, as an individual person, and writing books and coming up with the stuff. And I wasn't getting any freaking traction. And we got a weird comment there. And I signed on with these guys in July of last year, and they were like, no, we want you to do what you do, and we've had tremendous success. So it feels very reassuring, and I feel very validated. And then they're so wonderful and good to me. So how about that, huh?
Yeah, I told them as long as I get swag out of it, I'm in. So whatever. But I will say I believe it was like a social media post. I don't know which one exactly, but you guys are just coming off a family program, I think last week, which is, I think we didn't do it, but they had a really, really good kind of post about what the family program at Jaywalker is all about. And it's not necessarily about the client. So it's, very few are doing it. And I will say this, we'll leave names out of it, but I did have a conversation with a mom and dad with my services, and they actually mentioned this show that they've been watching, and they said that they had just come away from a family program where their son currently is, and got more out of watching our 3-4 shows than so I just said, like, well, we got to up our game, because more often than not, I'm making jokes and trying to stump you. But anyway, people are asked questions, so let's get right into it. And this, I wait for questions. This is kind of the person I am. I wait for questions. I know they're coming. I hear it from other families. It's coming more and more. And so now my life revolves around, when is the question going to come in that I can bring to Family Matters? We finally had it this week, and want to get it's fascinating stuff to me. So I'll boil it down, and then we can maybe talk further about it, but I'll just ask you, Kevin, where and the let's just say this, where do you see the involvement of AI into what part does it play in kind of family recovery? And I'll say this just to kind of backup or something. I can't tell you how many times families have brought this up, that they're going now to a chat GPT or whatever their favorite thing, and they are now asking these AIs. And some I found, well, chat GPT told me to, and it was pretty dead on what I was about to say. So I'm curious. And then this mom, dad, someone wants to know, where do you see AI? What place do you see it in kind of what you do? Kind of, let's just say on a day-to-day basis.
Sure.
Within family recovery, not your personal.
No. I get it, and I mean, I definitely talk to parents and families that are using it, and we have a homework curriculum at Jaywalker. It's a 12-week homework curriculum, and I've had a couple of people like, well, I put that stuff through AI and ChatGPT, and I'm like, okay, how'd that work out? Well, it really didn't work out, right? You actually have to do the work, But when someone is, searching for help and, like, how do we find help? What's the good? I think that's great. And when they're asking questions like, what can I do to help my person? That's great. It's great. I mean, it's a tool. It can be used positively or negatively, and, you can't use it as a therapist. You can't use it as a real thing to help you walk through the process, but you can certainly use it as an information tool. And saying, how do I deal with codependence? How do we heal the family system? How do I help my loved one who's struggling with drugs and alcohol? And see, I should actually do that and see what it says. And that's great. I mean, I think that's a great resource to turn to. And I'm curious to see whether or not it's what kind of response it gets. But I mean, I've actually had some individual clients tell me that when they're struggling with emotional issues or anxiety or depression, they'll go in there and they'll get some fairly decent response. My fear is that you always hear about that outlier where somebody told somebody to commit suicide or commit crimes or blah 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 blah, and it's like, I don't want to. And I want to be clear, you can't replace an individual therapist or a family therapist or family groups or family education with AI. It can be a tool to assist it. That's my answer.
I think it's a great answer because my fear in this whole thing is that it's just going to isolate more, that people are going to just be reliant on this computer voice or whatever you want to call it, instead of I go back to the opposite of addiction is connection. And so I think the finding the true connection within fellowship groups and so forth like that. And I will say that I play around with AI far too much, but I use it a lot in just other areas of my life. And so it's always, but I think it's really fascinating stuff it can suggest books, it can suggest resources. It's pretty dead on from the simple questions that I ask. I don't ask, how do I detox from, heroin in my bed or anything. I don't ask those, but, I think families have gotten, because I asked well, how did you come across this book? And they said they asked ChatGPT. So
which is great.
There's some advantages to it, and people I think are learning. And I had one mom that says that she started getting into trauma therapy or taking a look at her trauma because she asked AI, and they suggested looking deeper and showing signs of traumatic experience from her childhood, and that has led her to not doing the therapy through AI. That led her to anyway. But it's fascinating. AI is here, so but I don't think it's going to take any one of our jobs. I'll just say that. So
no, not at all. So I love the fact that it can be used as a resource.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fantastic.
You gotta see. I'm going to start asking it to see what for Chronic Hope, if your book comes up. We got to start.
Yeah.
It's got several of your big, of your favorite books, but
yeah.
Alrighty, another one. I love this, and I laugh because I relate. I finally set boundaries, but now my family says I've abandoned them. What gives? I stopped rescuing and enabling to the best of my ability. Now the rest of my family are saying that I'm cold and distant. Our boundaries supposed to feel this lonely. And she goes on to say, what's the purpose? Like, it seems like I'm the only one within this extended family that is holding to boundaries. And it's leading me to believe, like, what's the point if I'm the only one, because everyone else is not following through? Suggestions, she says.
Well, here's the thing, and I totally get it because that was my experience as well. Sometimes setting boundaries means being a little bit on your own and finding new people. You have to define whether or not these people are healthy for you. That's the thing. And if they're not healthy for you, then I'm going to tell you that you're kind of better off not hanging out with these people. Or I don't. So let's talk about what the sort of the big picture is here. I don't believe in this no contact thing. I just don't. Now, obviously, in cases of sexual abuse and physical abuse, yeah, sure. And I don't think you should subject yourself to somebody else's, ridiculousness and poor behavior. But what I think is you always want to extend sort of an offer of, hey, I'm willing to connect with you, but maybe we need to do it in a therapist's office. Maybe we need to do it in a controlled environment with a third person regulating the process and helping us. But I'm always open for that. I'm always cool for that. But I'm not. When you call me and belittle me and berate me and tell me I'm a terrible person and all that other stuff, I'm not having that relationship. I'm not doing that. And I'll just sort of keep you over here, and you may get a Christmas card or maybe even a present, but I'm not going to allow somebody into my life that is abusive and hurtful and harmful. And I think that's just smart boundaries, but I also think on the end of that conversation is, and if you want to improve our relationship, I'm happy to make that effort with you in this arena. That makes sense?
Yeah. So I know, I'll just say from kind of personal experience with a family, like, let's boil it down simple. Like, when you have, how do you work with, say, like a mom and dad here when it comes to allowing individual to come back home or not come back home? Mom says there's always a bed for you. Dad kind of says, like, no, we need to not allow him or her to keep coming back. Obviously the addict would get, mixed messages. Sometimes they're allowed in, sometimes maybe they're allowed, depending on who's the more dominant, in that. How do you work with kind of the divided boundaries when you have to have a unified boundary, but both sides don't want to go to the other side, if that makes sense?
Yeah. How do you find the middle? How do you find a compromise?
Because it normally always centers around letting him come back home, or maybe a money issue or something. But that seems to be like mom and dad's. That's the biggest issue, I think. So.
Oh no, that is the dynamic that I deal with on the regular.
Yeah.
Is the, how do I, mom wants to let him back in, dad wants to, run him over with a car, and how do we get to that space? And so what I would say, first of all, is mom and dad got to get on the same team, same page of having good boundaries and having a plan and agreeing on the plan together. That's the number one issue, is that whoever in the household that's allowing somebody back in, say, and I wouldn't just allow them back in. I'd say, hey, let's go meet with a third person, all of us. Let's come together with a plan that includes boundaries, like in my book, no drinking, no drugs. You got to be self-supporting either in school or work, and you got to be taking care of your mental health, and as long as you're achieving those three things, we're willing to work with you, but to me, that's the mom and the dad. Let's just use that example. The mom and the dad have to get on the same team, same page before they can offer that to the child or to the other person, whoever it may be. That's kind of how that works, right? Is that you got to get the family on the same page first. Otherwise, it's just going to be a total disaster.
Okay. Well, here's another one. I just like when I'll just tell you, if you want to make this show, if you want to write in a question, keep the questions coming. We don't get a lot of them, so I'm being partly kidding. But when you open up saying, I watch your show every week, you're going to get on the show because I love that. But,
Yeah.
and she goes on, but I mean, it's interesting. She ends with this question, which, I'm just sitting here thinking about it while you were talking and my mind just spinning, she says, I'm struggling to answer this one question. Is it more scarier for me to let go of control or watching my son destroy themselves while I try holding on?
Oh, it's much scarier to let go of control. Otherwise, you'd do it. I mean, the fallacy is you think you have control, right? That's the lie they're telling you.
That's what's got my mind. I mean, like,
Yeah.
We always think we have some control, and it's, I'm starting to think like letting go of control. Like, while you were talking, my mind who spins in different directions is like, I don't even know what that. How would I know that you let go of control? Like, it's in kind of like this delusion.
Yeah.
So.
And let's be clear, the two alternatives that she's coming up with is watching my son spin out of control and die, or me thinking that I can be in charge. You don't have to do either. There's actually another option. I mean, that's the whole point of the book.
Isn't that the truth, though? I think this is what boils everything down. Is I get caught into it. It's night and day. You just opened my eyes to. I mean, it's not night and day. It's not this or that. So keep going.
Yeah, it's, what you can do is be clear with your son. I love you, but these are the new rules. Read my book. I mean, I'm just going to get repetitive. Read my book. It costs you $10 on Amazon. Read my book. Follow the plan. No drugs, no alcohol. You got to go to school or work, get self-supporting, and you got to take care of your mental health. If you're doing those three things and we can verify those things, then, hey, we're happy to work something out together and be on the same team, same page. If you don't want to do those things, that's your choice. You're an adult, but I'm going to choose to disengage from you and not support you financially. That's the part you got to get comfortable with. Mom has to get comfortable with the space of saying, well, if he's going to choose this lifestyle, then I'm going to choose to step back, And I'm not saying you never talk to him.
That's the key. I mean, I think too often we eliminate the choice the addict is continuing to make, is not taking responsibility, not accountability, choosing to, stay on a drug when it's obviously having negative, and the family's like, we just got to, we got to figure something out, because he doesn't want to do that. And it's almost like, well, that's his choice. And so what are you going to choose not to do? Because so many people think, that, what do you mean? We're going to force him to make a choice? Well, that just sounds so mean. Meanwhile, they're not getting more than an hour of sleep because they're worrying about what Johnny's doing. So
yeah, they're out driving around town looking for him at 3 a.m, and it's like, oh, well, how's that working? I mean, that's not working at all. So let's find a happy medium where you get taken care of and you offer him a solution. He may not take the solution, and that's his choice. But you can also continue to hold your boundaries and be like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. So, yeah.
Well, if the family changes, there's a good chance that they'll change. And, that's, you just boil down what, I think is what I really do, or when anyone does, I mean, with this family, with addiction, is allowing families to kind of just surrender the outcome of what Johnny or Sally is going to do, and for them to start, doing the work, and i.e. just kind of a little, Johnny and Sally are going to be seeing the changes that you're going to make, and there's a good chance they're going to want to jump on board to the change train. Doing nothing or worrying, or like a question here, it says, I don't know if I feel like a parent or a probation officer. Go back to being a parent and also taking care of your own lives, because a parent doesn't mean bleeding. Like my mom always said, my mom's nickname in Burning Tree's family program is blood donor, because like literally and we all laughed. I mean, our whole family was like, yep, you nailed that one. I mean, because, my mom would give you blood if it meant me, changing her sons, whatever. But, and she's had to kind of evolve to take care of herself. She's doing a good job, but could be better. but yeah, families can start working on themselves, and you'll be shocked to see that the addict, alcoholic, the one suffering, is going to want to start jumping on that chain train.
Yeah, and now we're kind of talking about attachment stuff, right? They want to be part of the family, but when the family starts to let them know, we love you, but we're just not going to watch you kill yourself anymore. So if you want to be part of the gang, you got to clean up your act, and you can say that with love and compassion, and we'll help you. You want a therapist? We'll get a therapist. You want to get sober? We'll get you to treatment. We will help you, but we will not help you if you choose the other path. So
yeah. Personal story. I mean, I think we've gotten a few times, but I think basically, she would love to hear our version of what rock bottom means to you, and what was your rock bottom, and is rock bottom, does rock bottom, change or evolve? And for me, like I go week to week, whether rock bottom is a thing or not. But I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is what we just got done saying. I think looking now at 17 years sober, my rock bottom technically was when my family decided to change and not include me in it. And they're saying, like, go do whatever you want to do, but we can't accept your behaviors. I was like, screw it. I'm going to go to treatment. I want to change. Boom. So I wouldn't have told you in that spot, be like, what's your rock bottom? Oh, when my parents decided that, they were going to disown me and wanted nothing to do with me, and weren't willing to support my addiction. But I can look back on 17 years later. Absolutely. That was my rock bottom, because I went through 10 other treatment centers and nothing worked. That just seemed to be, but I think rock bottom, I'm not afraid of a little, scuffed knee or twisted ankle. I think rock bottom will just keep going and going and going. I think to death, and sometimes death doesn't even feel like a rock bottom. So that's just my stance.
Yeah, I mean, those are great questions, and I definitely get those all the time from the families. And here, first of all, here's my response: you don't have to wait for somebody to get to rock bottom. I mean, I don't buy that for a minute. That just nowadays, with the advent of opiates and fentanyl and all the stuff we have today, that means death. Let's be honest. Rock bottom is death. So we're not doing that anymore. For me, when I got sober in 1991, smoking weed and drinking and doing a little bit of cocaine. I hadn't done coke for years, actually, when I got sober. It was more the family saying, like you just said, we love you, but you're out, and you're going to stay out until you clean up your act. That was rock bottom for me. And, look, they held their ground for a couple months. They didn't just, it wasn't like a 48-hour, like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, F you, watch this. And then I was like, I don't like this. I'm really lonely. I'm not having any fun. I really miss my family. So, I called mom and started crying, like, oh, you don't love me. And she's like, oh, we love you. We just don't want that. And so here's what you got to do. You got to start seeing a therapist with your dad. And I was like, oh, no problem. And then that therapist put the whammy on me, and so I would tell you, for me, the rock bottom was getting to that space where I was like, I do not want to be alone. I don't like this. This is not fun for me. I mean, whether drinking incidents and, as I told a friend of mine, he's like, did you ever like wet the bed or, pee on yourself? And I'm like, let me put it to you this way. I used to wake up in the morning in a waterbed and I'd be like, that's weird. I don't have a waterbed.
Guilty.
Yeah. And so, that was not fun for me, it was not fun for me to always be on the run and hiding and that sort of shit. So, but those things, for me, the rock bottom was the emotional space. So, yeah.
And I have a friend back in Dallas that you'd always say rock bottom. He'd be like, well, let me ask you this. Like, it's everyone's dream to grow up and be rich, but no one ever gets to the point where it's like, I'm rich. It's always going to always go up and up and up. And then the reality is people will tell you that rich doesn't always equate to money sometimes. And so rock bottom, I think, is this, no one really has a true definition of it. It's always, If you think you're at your lowest, you can always go lower. It's like making enough money. Like people are always going to want more money or something, more happiness. So rock bottom is a moving target, I think. So,
I had an old sponsor that used to say, how much money is enough money? Enough where I don't have to trust God, and how much success is enough where I don't have to trust God. How much sex is enough? The answer is simple, and so,
I got a lot of work in all these areas here. I thought I was successful. I mean, geez,
all right.
Wow. I gotta have to go. Either I'm gonna trust God or get back to work, I guess.
Yeah, play the lottery. I do both, by the way.
Well, keep the questions coming, and if you're watching a replay where I hear a lot of people watch us, feel free to fire off a question. Even if it's a replay, it doesn't have to be live, and you can direct message us or instant message us or send Pony Express, whatever it is, to either one of us, and we will love to answer your questions. And if you think it's already been asked and you don't know that for sure, that means it hasn't been asked. So ask it so we can answer your specific question. So we're talking about the same thing, but everyone has a different kind of version of it. So if you found anything you're related to, we're glad to help. And if there's any more, reach back out to us. We would love to expound on anything, and first call is always free. We're lawyers, so don't think that the clock starts if you reach out to us.
First one's free.
Yes. Don't. Once you're past 50 words in the email, then we're gonna have to charge you. No, I'm just kidding. So we'd be happy to help. And if there's any questions about Jaywalker, especially, because let's be honest, they're the ones taking the most, they have the most faith in us, that putting their names attached to us. So if you got any questions about Jaywalker, jaywalkerlodge.com. But I'm excited, Kevin. We'll do this every week to the best of our ability. So
yeah, man, it's a new
you
era.
can take the rest of the day off. I think you brought it. So I will call your bosses, especially now that we're sponsored by them. I think I have that authority. So take the rest of the day off.
I will let Dennis know that. All right, man.
And I'll see you.
See you later.
Okay.